Picture ancient Rome. What's everyone wearing? Let me guess. Bed sheets. Thanks to Hollywood, we all think every Roman woke up, wrapped themselves in a curtain, and went about their day. Or that college fraternities actually nailed historical accuracy with their toga parties. Spoiler, they didn't. But imagine you actually time travel back to the year 100 AD. You look around the bustling marketplace, expecting a sea of majestic white togas, and almost nobody is wearing one. Here is the ultimate paradox. We think Romans lived in togas, but the toga was actually the equivalent of a modern tuxedo. Think about it. Do you wear a tailored tuxedo to buy groceries or take out the trash? Exactly. The toga was strictly formal wear, highly impractical formal wear. Let's break down what a toga actually was, so you understand the pure torture. It wasn't a neat little rectangle. It was a massive, semicircular piece of fabric up to 18 feet long. And it wasn't made of light, breezy cotton. It was thick, heavy, unstitched sheep's wool. Now, combine a heavy wool blanket with the Mediterranean summer sun in Rome. Imagine yourself walking around town baked inside 18 feet of scratchy wool. Oh, and it had 0 buttons, pins, or belts. None. It stayed on your body purely through friction, gravity, and your own clamped left arm. Try catching a runaway pig or fighting off a mugger while keeping your left arm permanently glued to your chest. Or worse, imagine you need to use the bathroom in this thing. One wrong move, and your majestic symbol of citizenship falls into the latrine trench. Clearly, this is not the ultimate ancient activewear. If you tried to do manual labor in a toga, you'd be strangled by your own wardrobe in 5 minutes. So, if everyone wasn't cosplaying as a marble column, what were they actually wearing on a random Tuesday? To find the truth, we have to look past the elite politicians and look at the real people of Rome. The answer is simple, practical, and definitely not 18 feet long. Meet the actual MVP of the Roman wardrobe, the tunic. It was basically the oversized t-shirt of antiquity. 2 rectangular pieces of wool or linen sewn together with holes for your head and arms. Groundbreaking tech. You just pulled it over your head, tied a belt around your waist, and boom, you were dressed. No 18 feet of fabric, no physics degree required, and 0 slaves needed to help you put it on. So who wore the tunic? Literally everyone. Slaves wore it to clean the villas, bakers wore it to make bread, and soldiers wore it under their armor. Yes, even the mighty emperor wore a tunic while chilling at home. Think of it as the ancient Roman equivalent of sweatpants. You didn't do public speeches in it, but you lived in it. For men, the tunic usually stopped right around the knees. Going shorter meant you were either a soldier on the march, or you just really wanted to show off your calves. And in the winter, Rome gets cold, and they didn't have central heating. The solution was simple: layering. Emperor Augustus was notoriously sensitive to the cold. Legend has it he wore up to 4 tunics at once. Now, what about the women? Did they wear togas? Absolutely not. If you were a respectable Roman woman, wearing a toga was actually a punishment. Prostitutes and women caught in adultery were forced to wear the toga as a badge of public shame. Normal women wore their own ankle-length version of the tunic, often topped with a dress called a stola. So, if everyone is running around in tunics, how did you know who was rich and who was poor? Fabric quality and color. The poor wore scratchy, unbleached wool that looked like a dirty potato sack. The rich wore imported linen or fine wool dyed in bright, expensive colors like red or saffron. But here is the catch. A nice red tunic might show you have money, but it didn't prove you had actual legal or political status. For that, you had to suffer. You had to wear the Roman equivalent of a straitjacket. Welcome to the daily nightmare of the Roman citizen, getting dressed for official business. You couldn't just throw a toga on. It was physically impossible to do it yourself. Try wrapping an 18-foot, 30-pound semicircle of wool around your body with one hand. If you tried, you'd end up looking like a mummy that lost a fight with a washing machine. That's why wealthy Romans had a highly specialized, dedicated slave for this exact job. Meet the Vestiplicus, the ancient equivalent of a personal stylist and structural engineer. His entire existence revolved around making sure your folds were mathematically perfect. Step 1. The slave drapes the first third of the fabric over your left shoulder, letting it fall to your feet. Do not move. If you sneeze now, you start over. Step 2. The remaining 12 feet goes across your back, under your right arm, and across your chest. Then comes the tricky part. The slave has to create a perfectly draped pocket called the sinus. This was basically your ancient fanny pack. You kept your scroll, your purse, or maybe an emergency snack in there. Finally, a knot of fabric called the umbo was pulled up from the waist to lock the whole chaotic mess together. And remember, no pins, just the sheer pressure of folded wool holding your dignity intact. Congratulations! You are now officially dressed as a Roman citizen. Now, try to walk. You can't just swing your arms. Your left arm is permanently trapped holding the folds. You had to glide, slow, measured steps, keeping your upper body completely rigid. If you walked too fast, the friction failed, and 18 feet of wool hit the dirt. If you tripped, you couldn't catch yourself because your left arm was hostage to the toga. Roman writers actually complained about the physical agony of the toga. The orator Quintilian wrote an entire guide on how to fix your toga while giving a speech so you wouldn't look like an idiot. It was basically a wearable panic attack, but you had to wear it, because in Rome, your discomfort was the ultimate proof of your status. So if the toga was an instrument of torture, why bother wearing it at all? Simple. Romans were obsessively, aggressively concerned with social hierarchy. Your toga wasn't just clothing, it was your walking, talking resume. The basic model was the toga virilis, plain, off-white, natural sheep wool. You got this when you came of age. Welcome to manhood, here is your heavy wool burden. But what if you were a big shot, a senator or a high-ranking magistrate? You upgraded to the toga praetexta, featuring a stunning purple stripe. That stripe yelled to everyone in the forum, "I make the laws, get out of my way." And that purple dye was obscenely expensive. It was called Tyrian purple. It was extracted from the rotting glands of thousands of sea snails. So yes, the most powerful men in Rome strutted around smelling faintly of dead fish. Power move. Now, let's say you want to run for office. How do you stand out in a crowd of off-white togas? You rub your toga with chalk until it is blindingly, unnaturally white. This glowing garment was called the toga candida. It proved you were pure, honest, and totally not bribing anyone. Spoiler, they were absolutely bribing people. But the outfit looked great. Fun linguistic fact, that chalky white toga is where we get the modern word candidate. So every time you vote, you're honoring an ancient politician desperate for attention in a chalky bedsheet. But wait, there is one more level. The ultimate fashion flex. The toga picta. Solid Tyrian purple, heavily embroidered with pure gold thread. This wasn't for senators. This was reserved exclusively for victorious generals during a triumph. Later on, the emperors realized it looked too good, so they banned everyone else from wearing it. Wearing a solid purple toga without being the emperor was a fantastic way to get yourself executed. The Romans essentially had heavily armed fashion police. Dress above your station, and you didn't just get a fine, you became gladiator food. So, if the toga was a miserable, heavy, impractical status symbol, why is it everywhere in museums? Because marble statues are ancient propaganda, not documentaries. Think about it. If you were paying a fortune to have yourself carved in stone for eternity, would you tell the artist to sculpt you in your stained weekend sweatpants? Of course not. You put on your best tailored suit. The statue was the Roman equivalent of a LinkedIn profile picture. Only the top 1% of the 1% could afford a marble statue. And these guys were politicians, senators, and magistrates. Their entire brand was formal civic duty. So they demanded to be immortalized wearing the ultimate symbol of their political power, the toga. Pity the poor sculptors who had to carve 18 feet of chaotic wool folds out of solid rock. Meanwhile, the regular guy baking bread or selling fish couldn't afford a bronze bust. When the Roman Empire collapsed, the statues of the elites were the only things that survived the ruins. This created a massive historical bias. We only found statues of guys in togas, so we assumed everyone wore them. But if you want to see the real Roman street style, you have to look at Pompeii. The volcanic ash preserved everyday life, including wall paintings and frescoes of regular people. Guess what those frescoes show? No togas, just tunics, cloaks, and practical work clothes. Tavern brawls, gambling, selling vegetables, all done in knee-length tunics. The truth is, the Romans themselves hated the toga so much, they constantly tried to stop wearing it. It became such a problem that emperors had to pass strict dress code laws. Emperor Augustus famously threw a fit when he saw citizens in the Forum wearing casual cloaks instead of togas. He literally ordered the police to ban anyone from the Forum who wasn't wearing their formal wool blanket. If everyone naturally loved the toga, you wouldn't need an imperial decree to force them into it. By the later Roman Empire, the classic sweeping toga was basically extinct in daily life. It shrank and evolved into a stiff embroidered band worn almost exclusively by consuls on special occasions. The great Roman bedsheet had finally surrendered to basic human comfort. So, let's issue our final verdict on the great Roman wardrobe myth. Did the Romans spend all day lounging around in majestic white bedsheets? Only if they were a politician trying to get elected, or a statue pretending to be important. The toga was not a casual garment. It was a heavyweight, unpinned prison of woe. It required a dedicated slave just to put it on, and the walking speed of a glacier to keep it on. If you tried to fight, run, or work in a toga, you would immediately regret all of your life choices. The true hero of the Roman Empire was the tunic. It was basically an oversized t-shirt that actually allowed human movement. Hollywood owes us an apology for completely ignoring the ancient equivalent of sweatpants. The next time you see a movie with a bustling Roman market full of pristine white togas, just imagine 18 feet of wool instantly dragging through the mud and donkey manure. And if you ever get invited to a college toga party, you now have the ultimate historical high ground. Show up in a simple knee-length tunic, tie a rope around your waist, and call them all posers. But before you go out and buy your own ancient activewear, we have another myth to bust. You know the Colosseum, right? The ultimate arena of blood, sand, and death? Pop culture tells us that every single gladiator match ended with someone losing their head. But did gladiators actually fight to the death? Or were they actually incredibly expensive, highly trained, heavily sponsored athletes? Think about it. Would a wealthy owner want to kill off his multi-million-dollar sports star in his first match? Tomorrow, we are jumping straight into the bloody sands of the arena to expose the truth about ancient combat. Spoiler alert, the referees were real, and the whole thumbs down gesture might be a total Hollywood lie. Hit that subscribe button to join us for another brutal myth-busting session. Unless you enjoy believing that history was just one big, historically inaccurate movie set. See you in the arena. Try not to trip over your toga on the way out.